Thank you and good morning, everyone. I want to start by expressing a great deal of thanks, not only to all the candidates that ran in the most recent federal election, but also to all of the party leaders. And a special thanks to each of their family members that supported them through this endeavor. It's no small thing to put your name forward in an election of any kind, let alone an election in the ridings of significant size in a federal election. It's no small thing to put your name forward to campaign for what you believe in, and to have the courage then to accept the choice of the voters. So Canadians have spoken, and I would take this opportunity to congratulate Prime Minister Mark Carney on his election win. Canadians have provided him and your party and your government a new mandate, and while you had very strong support in some parts of Canada, there are many Canadians, including most of us in Saskatchewan, who voted for a degree of change. And now it's up to you to show that you have heard that message and to deliver change, not only for Saskatchewan people, but for many Canadians as well. For Saskatchewan industries that help drive the Canadian economy and very much are part of the Canadian economy, to provide some degree of change for Saskatchewan people. Last night, what I heard was that the Prime Minister Carney had said that he wants to work with both Saskatchewan and Alberta. He's also said that he wants to make Canada into a global leading energy superpower. And that's great to hear, but those are nothing but words. And I would say, and I've said it many times, that policies truly do matter, in particular in this space. And so some of the government's policies, the federal government's policies, they quite simply are going to need to change in order for Canada to achieve that goal. What Prime Minister Carney had said is that we must deal with the United States of America and the Trump administration from a position of strength, and I couldn't agree more with that statement. And making Canada the world leading energy superpower would be a pretty good start to dealing with the United States as well as any other allied country from a position of strength. We have some ideas on how we can jointly achieve that as a provincial government, and what policies this new administration may need to alter to some degree in order for us as Canadians to achieve that global energy superpower. So I would say that this is an opportunity for each and all of us to hit the reset button, if you will, on the federal government's relationship with the province and the people of Saskatchewan, and I hope that this offer is taken. And I would take this opportunity to invite Prime Minister Carney to a meeting here in Saskatchewan, where we'd love to host him, to chart a productive path forward for our province within the nation of Canada. I want to work alongside this federal government to build a strong and growing Saskatchewan, as I said, within a very united and strong growing nation of Canada. So I look forward to meeting with the new Prime Minister as soon as possible so that we can start working together to achieve that mutual goal that we have. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Can you explain what it means to hit the reset button and maybe what you think you can contribute to that process? Because many would suggest that disagreements went both ways in terms of the bad relations with the previous administration. So I guess what I'm asking is, what are you going to do specifically to improve those relations that need to exist?
What we're doing today is providing an offer to engage and to consult on not only what some of the policies are, but where the issues are from a Saskatchewan, not particularly the government's perspective, but from our industry's perspective, but also not to just come with complaints, but to come with real solutions to what a path forward is with respect to those policies. And so I think that would be the first ask, which is, I think, a pretty sensible one, is let's just stop with the unconsulted policies, of which we've seen far too many over the course of the last decade or so. We've talked at length of Bill C-69. Right today, we have a uranium mine that has all of its provincial approvals and has for the last 2 years, and has just recently been delayed from receiving all of their federal approvals as well moving forward. And so it's not just the oil and gas industry that we are discussing here, but it's the entirety of our economy. We have some ideas on how we can alter, not change or end Bill C-69 or any environmental impact assessment, because that's important, but alter it so that it is working not only for gauging any environmental impact that might be there and protecting those that live in the area and protecting the duty to consult process that we have, but ensuring that investment can actually flow into places like a new uranium mine, which would employ many northern and Indigenous residents and provide clean fuel to the world. There are, however, a few policies that are going to have to go. The clean electricity regulations are just not possible if we are truly to have affordable power for Saskatchewan residents and attract industries to work here. The oil emissions cap or the production cap simply has to be set aside, understanding how far Saskatchewan oil production has come from a sustainability perspective, and I even think there's a path forward when it comes to a conversation around the industrial carbon tax, what it is and is not applied to here in the province. So the ask is for a consultation in those spaces, but many others as well. And what does Saskatchewan bring to the table? A continued willingness to work with the federal government. I think when we signed the first iteration of the child care agreement, we were the second or third province to do so, and very, I would say, ambitious in that space. And we continue to work, and we'll pick up working again subsequent this election happening last night with the federal government on what that agreement will look like moving forward as it expires just about a year from now. But those are examples where, and there's many, where we have worked closely with the federal government, and we continue to offer that. I'll leave that there.
Is there room on coal burning by 2030 as proposed initially, I guess, by the Harper administration? Like that, I'm just looking at things that where you would say further, this is how we are going to work with the students.
No, as we move forward with keeping our electricity rates affordable and keeping our electricity grid reliable, we are going to need to extend the life of some of the current facilities that we have. In saying that, I think there is a broader term discussion about what our emissions complement is going to look like under each of those scenarios. We can talk about the cost and the $18 billion additional that SaskPower provided a number of months ago to attempt to, not actually to comply with the clean electricity regulations. But there is a longer term, like a decade or a decade and a half, a conversation that I think we can have in a true transition to nuclear and skip some of the natural gas interim step and those things, which are going to drive up costs, actually have a significant amount of emissions on their own. I think over the course of that decade and a half, we can actually show that there is going to be a lower emissions footprint coming out of Saskatchewan electricity production, than trying or attempting to comply with things like the clean electricity regulation. Now, these again are things that could have been hashed out, had consultations happen prior, and we're asking for that to happen now.
Sounds like you
might be a little more in tune with the West and with Alberta, given he's from there originally, or is that too long ago?
He still cheers for the Oilers. That would be a net positive. What I heard last night, Wayne, was a Prime Minister that had committed to representing all Canadians, regardless of where you live and where you work and what industry you work in. I would say from my perspective, I certainly haven't given up on the opportunity that we have as Canadians. I would hope, and what I heard last night is a Prime Minister, and I'm hoping a Liberal Party that isn't giving up on Saskatchewan people and the role that Saskatchewan plays in the Confederation. But we'll find out.
It sounds like you're taking kind of more of a conciliatory approach, and I'm hearing the comments out of Alberta, Danielle Smith talking about possibly the need to protect Alberta from future hostile acts from Ottawa, that sort of talk. Just wondering what you think about what you're hearing from the neighbors.
Well, if we truly engage on these topics, and this would be a start, by no means the end of the conversation, a start. I think that would be some goodwill showed by this, new Prime Minister and new administration. And we're prepared to give them an opportunity to start in healing some of the divisions that we see across this nation. And what we saw last night was officially the takeover of the NDP party by the Liberals, for all intents and purposes. I think in Saskatchewan, since 1935, you haven't seen the NDP poll have below a 20% showing. They were 6 or 7% last night. And so the takeover of the NDP party by the Liberals across Canada is virtually complete. Has been essentially there the last 4 years with their supply and confidence agreement, but Canadians have voted on where that is going, and so that takeover is virtually complete. So we're entering a two-party system in Canada. A two-party system, much like we've seen south of the border, and you're seeing, you're seeing a very significantly different proportion of vote going to those parties from the west side of Toronto right out to including the lower mainland in British Columbia. And so the Prime Minister has some work to do. What we're saying and what we're offering is we'll be part of that work. And we will, do what we can to provide you with some guidance from our perspective on how we can hopefully heal some of those divisions.
Are you nervous at all for that two-party system that we're going into because Pierre Poilievre just lost his seat?
No, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be a discussion that Pierre will be having with his caucus, and whether he chooses to run in another seat of some type in a by-election or whatever that might be. We saw Jagmeet Singh had made his decision last night where he had stepped down as leader, and it wasn't successful in his seat as well. We've seen that in provincial elections where leaders haven't been successful in winning their seat as well. And so there'll be a discussion that happens there. What I would say is quite an incredible showing last night by two parties, both the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, both over 40% of the vote. In any other given election in recent history, either of those percentage marks on their own would have probably garnered you a majority government and had lower percentages it garnered and provided majority governments in years gone by. And so quite a performance by both parties, both leaders, and I commend them both. And as I said, all of the candidates and their families that supported them through this, very vigorous and well-fought and hard-fought campaign. With respect to Pierre Poilievre, my, comments, which mean nothing, would be with the showing that the Conservative Party had last night, whatever decision he makes would be his and in consultation with his caucus to make.
What kind of a working relationship are you expecting with Mark Carney? You were able to work with him a little bit before the election, and how do you think that's going to differ from how the province was able to work with the past federal election?
Well, I'm hopeful. As I said, I by no means have given up on Canada and Saskatchewan's role in our nation. And I truly hope that not only the Prime Minister, but the entirety of whoever's in his cabinet and caucus, I haven't given up on Saskatchewan, the people that live here, the industries that are creating wealth for families here, and Saskatchewan's role in the Federation. And so we're going to find out about all of that very soon, because there is some changes that need to be made. In our approach, two, in the policies from the federal perspective.
What do you think about Western separatism, those sentiments with this election result? What do you think will happen with those sentiments in the country?
Well, I'll just maybe remove the word Western, and separatist sentiments have been present in Canada for decades. In fact, we saw yet again over 20 separatist MPs elected from the province of Quebec. I think when you go into Quebec, the Separatist Party is probably leading or first or second in the polls provincially. And so, having actual people run on separation platforms is not new to Canadian politics in any way. We've seen it for decades coming from the province of Quebec. What I see right now in Saskatchewan is more a feeling of alienation. And more a feeling of we just want to be treated fairly. in Confederation. We want to be consulted with the policies that are coming forward that are going to impact our industries, our jobs in this province. Industries that are creating wealth and are, as I say, producing some of the most sustainable products on earth. And so I am of the view, certainly I have not in any way given up on Saskatchewan, very much being a part and a productive part of the Confederation of Canada, the nation of Canada. And we're going to find out very soon whether the Prime Minister, or more importantly, the breadth of his cabinet and caucus, are, what their views are on Saskatchewan's role moving forward, and whether they're willing to change their approach with respect to how they deal with not only the provincial government in Saskatchewan, but more broadly the people.
With respect to Prime Minister's cabinet, there's now a Liberal candidate from Saskatchewan is going to be a part of that cabinet from the north. I wonder if you feel-
Was he appointed?
Not, caucus. So
Okay.
cabinet. I said caucus. But again, there's going to be a Liberal MP.
Good advocacy, though.
I said caucus, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, we need a voice. Yeah.
Do you feel as though that will contribute to potentially stepping being a little bit more front and center within?
Yeah, I'd hope so. For example, a very important piece, I think, for that individual to pick up on would be, the uranium mine that I had mentioned. It has all the provincial approvals, has for 2 years. We would hope, and I have asked repeatedly of the federal minister and the prime minister, I'm trying to remember if it's a former or current, that particular mine not be in any way cut corners, but be expedited in the process, the federal process that they have. Maybe that is an opportunity for the MP that won in Buckley Boulanger, who has a history in this building, for him to advocate on behalf of jobs right in his constituency and in the province, most certainly, that we share. Another example, though, of the completion of the takeover of the NDP party would be that particular candidate running as a Liberal now.
What is this going to mean when it comes to your government's moves on the industrial carbon tax? You did make those moves kind of expecting a conservative government federally.
Yeah, it's still the way it is. We're not charging the industrial carbon tax as of today. However, that is one, I think, of the 5 points where we need to start a new and different relationship. I think there is a path forward where everybody may have to give just a little bit, but is a path forward that is workable for industry, workable for the people of the province, and workable, I would hope, for the federal government as well. The industrial carbon tax is largely across Canada the hidden carbon tax. What's a little bit different in Saskatchewan is a significant portion of the industrial carbon tax is charged on our electricity bills, of which we wanted to be transparent with Saskatchewan people and Saskatchewan industries. And so it's significant. That's what's been removed since April the 1st. There is a second portion of that, which is actually on industrial emissions. And so we will work with our industrial emissions portion, but it's as we move forward. But it certainly can't be charged on how we generate electricity for Saskatchewan families and industries moving forward. And so there may be a path for discussion there, and that's what we're trying to open up here today, or attempting to open up. And I hope, and I really do hope, in the interest of Canada and the interest of Saskatchewan being a significant contributor to the Canadian economy in the years ahead, that the federal government will come to that table with an open mind to healing some of the wounds that have been perceived or felt in various industries here, and changing some of the policies that they have.
You mentioned giving up a little bit. Like, what is Saskatchewan willing to give up with these negotiations with the federal government?
Why would anyone have to give up anything? And I'm not asking the federal government to give up anything. I'm asking them to come to consult on, what the impacts of some of their policies are for Saskatchewan people, who I would remind them are Canadians and everyone. There's a path forward for us to actually, yes, achieve the emissions reductions in certain areas that we all aspire to, but without the threats on investment loss, job loss, the growth of our general economy. There's always a path forward, and I think the first and foremost ask I have is to consult first, which has not happened. I'm right back to the very day when I was an environment minister, and it was the first of these policies, which was the introduction of the carbon tax. And we can all relive that day, and we lived it in different ways. But that really set the tone for how there has been a lack of consultation by the Liberal government under the previous leader and Prime Minister. And what we are offering today is for a different relationship and to reset that relationship moving forward. We'll see if it's accepted.
What about timelines? If you're looking for a place where you guys were completely disagree with the federal government quite often, it was on timeline questions, like on natural gas or electrical generation, like on phasing out coal and everything else. Can you give us some sense as to what, if any, that has changed in the last 24 hours now that you're faced with the likelihood, pretty short term, of another Liberal government?
Nothing's changed, and like I said, today is an offer, not an ultimatum. An offer to enter into discussions collaboratively on whatever these issues are, and this is a start. There's going to be more as we work through time. Listen, had things changed, and there's a poly of government here this morning, I'm sure there'd be a number of things that we would have to work on with Pierre Poilievre as Prime Minister as well. So this is an offer to engage. We haven't had that.
And supported that concept of the Poilievre government. Do you think that's in any way a hindrance now to what you want to accomplish with, or because I think a lot of people would see the difficulty of supporting one political party over another and then having to deal with it?
No, I don't see any difficulty there at all.
Are you prepared to go to court if necessary over the industrial carbon tax decision?
Go to court if necessary. I think there's, listen, I'm not going to get into, what ifs. What we're offering here today is, some guidance and a true path forward on, resetting the relationship. And I would just say starting that conversation on how policy development is developed moving forward. It needs to change.
Are you still asking the federal government to not impose the federal backstop on the industrial carbon tax? You mentioned when you said you were pointing about the Saskatchewan bills that you asked the federal government not to impose the federal backstop. Are you still asking them to do it?
Yeah, what I'm asking them now is let's sit down and talk about what this looks like on a path forward, because not all provinces are the same in the industries that are operating there, in how we generate our electricity, and how the industrial carbon tax, which largely across Canada is a hidden carbon tax, is applied. There's a way for us, if our true goal is to achieve lower emissions, I think we can sit down and talk our way through how over the next decade and a half, we're going to significantly lower emissions at a much lower cost point than maybe just a one-size-fits-all policy across the nation of Canada.
How high up is Philadelphia on the list of things that you want to talk to the federal government about?
It's all number one. Listen, I said at the outset, Prime Minister Carney has a lot of things that are very, very high priority. I've listed a few with respect to, and an offer with respect to, resetting what has been a strenuous relationship with the province of Saskatchewan, and I'm sure there's other provinces that will be looking for the same. We have, and we're in the midst of a pretty heated discussion with our largest trading partner, the United States of America. And, we'll provide advice from our perspective as well on how to engage with respect to the products that we trade back and forth with the United States of America. We're, as you rightfully have identified, 100% tariff on agricultural products that are going to China. And so that has to be of the highest priority as well for the Prime Minister. And so there are a number of items that have been left on Prime Minister Carney's desk by his predecessor. And so it's no small task, and I would say that he's probably waking up to one of the more challenging jobs in the nation today. What we're offering here today is some help and an offer of working towards some goals that I think all Canadians could share from Saskatchewan's perspective, and really a resetting of that relationship. If that offer is not taken or snubbed, or then we'll get to that conversation if we need to. It'd be my hope that we don't. As I said from the start, I certainly haven't lost faith in this nation. And it is my true hope that the Prime Minister and his government, his Liberal government, has not lost faith in Saskatchewan people either. But we will find out soon.
Except an unrelated question, you issued a statement the other day about the Filipino community.
Right.
A couple of vigils coming up in the province.
Yeah, and we're in communication with a number of different official, non-official organizations within the Filipino community. And what I would, just begin with is, our heartaches as we support our Filipino community, not just in Saskatchewan, but across Canada, given, such just a severe tragedy that happened in Vancouver a few days ago. As we move forward and through, various stages of grief with that. And we've had our share of grief in this province as well over the last decade or so. We will very quickly, I think, as legislators and public representatives, look for positives to come out of this, if there can possibly be any. And I listened very intently to Mayor Ken Shu's comments with respect to what he essentially amounts to compassionate intervention. I think his statements that he had made were with respect to individuals that are just at a state where they are incapable of directing their own health care when it comes to addictions and recovery. And so BC, the provincial government, has started discussions with respect to compassionate intervention in that province. Alberta, I think, has moved forward with a bill in this place as well, and Saskatchewan has been watching and listening in this space very carefully. And I think you'll see Saskatchewan moving forward sooner rather than later with respect to, as we build out our recovery capacity and our access to that capacity, that we also need to be looking at compassionate intervention when it comes to addictions recovery in this province as well. Addictions for sure, and some of those discussions are what we're having right now.
Regarding the relationship with the United States, Chinese ambassadors suggest that Regina could form a partnership with Canada to counter the U.S. intimidation. Do you think Mark Carney should go ahead with this?
Well, I don't know that the Chinese ambassador is going to set all of the the rules to a negotiation with Canada. Now that we have officially a Prime Minister elected, I would think that this would be one of the many top priorities that the Prime Minister has, is to not only engage with the U.S. But also to engage with China. I don't view it as a one or the other, and these aren't conversations that are simple, easy, and straightforward, but they're necessary. And you have to have them. And so my point all along has been of one, to engage with China and engage sooner rather than later. And that would be, my encouragement up to and including today. I have met with the Chinese ambassador on more than one occasion, and we'll be meeting with them again in the not too distant future to advocate and educate from Saskatchewan's perspective, because all too often, whether it's China or India or, now we're seeing the United States, but often China and India, when there is some type of a retaliatory tariff that's put in place, all too often it impacts Saskatchewan agriculture, Canadian agriculture, which is Saskatchewan agriculture. That's exactly what we've seen in this case.
All right, thanks, everybody.